Provincial politicians are getting significant raises. As part of legislation introduced today, all MPPs are getting a raise of nearly $41,000, bringing their salaries to just over $157,000. The Premier, Doug Ford, will see his salary increase by about $73,000 to just over $282,000, while opposition leader Marit Stiles will see her pay go up to over $244,000. That's an increase of about $64,000. Cabinet ministers will see their salaries hiked nearly $58,000 to about $224,000. MPP salaries had been frozen at just over $116,000 since 2009. And MPPs will also now be able to join and contribute to Ontario's public service pension plan for the first time since 1995. So lots to talk about. For more on those developments at Queen's Park, we're joined live by CTV's political commentator, Scott Reid. Good to see you again, Scott. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Lena.
Let's begin with what I was just talking about. MPPs getting a pretty decent raise. In some cases, we're talking about an extra $41,000. That's not nothing. Could taxpayers take issue with this, given our financial situation as a province?
Yeah, there's always going to be political risk with raising the take-home pay of politicians. That's why politicians haven't given themselves a raise since 2009. But it is 15 years ago. And, the truth of the matter is, if you take a look at how our MPPs in this province are paid, it's not that competitive with other jurisdictions, and there's no pension plan. So there's that little mention at the end about, well, they can contribute to the public service pension if they want to try to extract some sort of pension, because let's face it, political jobs are not all that secure. You can get voted in, you can get voted out pretty quickly. But look, this is always going to be a political risk. The reason Ford's doing it now is because he's racked up 3 majority governments in a row, and he just racked up one a few months ago. And so if there's going to be some high water, he can take it on right now and not risk votes down the road.
It's been the same. Scott, the other big story at Queen's Park is that the Ford government's looking for sweeping new powers to go after school boards it's accusing of financial mismanagement. What do you make of the way the PCs are handling this issue?
This is a long refrain with Conservatives. You go all the way back, to past Conservative governments, Mike Harris, this sort of go to war with school boards. Some people openly debate whether they should just eliminate school boards altogether. It's about control. And yes, you are going to find examples of school boards doing silly things. You're going to find examples of extravagant use of taxpayers' money, and they should obviously be crunched down on. I like the measures with respect to proactive disclosure. That happens at almost every level of government now. I see no reason why it shouldn't happen with school boards. That meaning, your expenses should be posted online and people can take a look at them. But, the reality is this is about control. And at some point you have to ask yourself, if Toronto, if Queen's Park, if the government of the day wants to dictate and control every decision and every choice that's made in every region of the province, well, then why not just eliminate these boards? And it is a bit of a Punch and Judy show at the same time that we know schools are failing. And we know that the infrastructure of our schools and our classrooms hasn't been getting the capital infusion that it's required. So in some ways, this is also a political distraction, one that Conservatives think win them votes, but doesn't do a whole hell of a lot for students in the classroom.
Okay, from Queen's Park to the House of Commons, my final topic for you today. Yesterday was Mark Carney's first question period, and he fielded a number of questions from the opposition, the big one being, why aren't you tabling a budget? How do you think he handled that?
I thought pretty well. I mean, for a guy who's green as the grass, he seemed pretty comfortable in the House of Commons. Was able to sort of, unsheath some of that quick wit that he's got, use that to some good effect, and a little bit of charming of the House, and never really got knocked off his stride. If we were looking for some sort of striking difference, guess what? He sounded like a politician in question period. He was asked a bunch of specific questions. He gave broad answers. He was asked, why isn't he doing something? He talked about the things that he would prefer to say he is doing, and on it went. So now that we've got that over with, we can go back to not paying very much attention to question period until the next scandal emerges, which it will inevitably.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes. Finally, I just have to ask about the elephant in the room, sort of being Pierre Poilievre. How strange do you think it is for him as the leader of the Conservatives to be watching this from the outside?
Obviously, Pierre Poilievre lost the election. Obviously, he lost his own seat. All of those things are sort of calculated. We know them all. You really felt it yesterday. You know, people that are close observers of Parliament, I'm sure Mr. Poilievre himself, he really did feel like he was sort of scratching on the window pane, sort of saying, hey, fellas, what's going on inside there? Can someone open up the back door and let me into the party? He really did look like he was on the outside trying to peer in. That'll get fixed over the course of the summer. There'll be a by-election in Alberta. He will win that by-election. When the fall House sitting resumes, he'll be there. But you're right. It was a little stark yesterday. And the Liberals, by the way, made some hay out of it. Bruce Fanjoy, who beat him in that riding, has released a little book, how we did it, how we defeated Pierre Poilievre. So they're kind of milking that cow a little bit, trying to get a little bit of a political mileage out of it.
All right, he wrote that book very quickly, given that it just happened. Wow. Okay, CTV's political commentator, Scott Reid, always good to pick your brain. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk soon.